There are 3 ancient wells in Sheppey. Only one remains uncovered. It's housed in the back garden shed of Leon Stanford.
I don't know how the word's got around, but it certainly has. They come to take water away. They come for relatives, friends.
The wells are dedicated to Bridget, Celtic goddess of healing and fertility. Leon has been visited on many occasions by childless couples wanting a sip of the magical water to help them conceive.
Of about 100, we've had about 30 recontact us to say that they have since had a child or been blessed with a child.
Some say that the 3 wells in Sheppey represent the 3 stages of a woman's life: maiden, mother and old woman, or crone. An image believed to be of the goddess Bridget was found in one of the wells.
And the 3 heads on the triple goddess image, which I have in my hand here, represent maiden, mother and crone.
The symbol has been interpreted as a pregnant woman. Her belly is swollen and she appears to be squatting, giving birth. Legend has spread that this figure is magical.
If you touch it...
Helen Scudder touched the icon and believes that though she was using contraception, the strength of this magic caused her to conceive her daughter.
But when I did touch it, I did think to myself, I would love a little girl. And exactly a year later, I fell with Paris. So I've always wanted a little girl, and she came to me.
About 200 miles away in the west of England is a bold hillside carving, which, for obvious reasons, is believed to be a Celtic fertility symbol. The Cerne Abbas chalk giant is associated with May, a major festival in the Celtic calendar, when the fertility of the land and procreation within the community was celebrated.
May is the merry month now, it's the merry month 2,000 years ago, because it's the month in which the summer pastures open, the green grass has grown enough to be able to send out the flocks and the herds. So you're free, you've been crammed up for an entire winter, getting increasingly irritable and verminous and bored. And now you can pluck yourself free of fleas, you can hose yourself down the river, and you can set out for a life of freedom and adventure out in the open. What May gives you is a full stomach and room to breathe and do a lot more than breathe. And that's why people can take to the woods together and have serious fun.
Modern superstitions reflect this. Some believe that if childless couples dance on the hillside, they will conceive. But recent research has revealed that no references to the giant were made before the 17th century. It could be far from Iron Age Celtic, but a modern English hoax. Stonehenge is certainly ancient, but contrary to many interpretations, it's not Celtic. It was built in the Stone Age, 3,000 years before the Celts, but may have been adopted by the Celtic peoples in their religious ceremonies. The main festivals in the Celtic calendar were associated with solstices and equinoxes, and Stonehenge would have been the perfect arena. On the summer solstice at dawn, the sun rises and hits the heel stone, creating a magical sight. Artistic interpretations have romanticised and popularised Stonehenge as a breathtaking Celtic temple, a place of druid worship and offering to the sun gods. At the solstice festivals, there may well have been huge gatherings like this: fires, feasting and sacrifice. Another example of a Stone Age site that was used by the Celts is Newgrange in Ireland. Ireland lies in the westernmost edge of Europe. Proud of their Celtic heritage, the Irish celebrate it with music, art and folklore. Rich in ancient standing stones and burial tombs, the Irish landscape bristles with Celtic myths and legends. 30 miles north of Dublin is Newgrange, a megalithic tomb with a large central passage built around 5,000 years ago. Despite the modern shoring up of the original stones with quartz bricks, the tomb still has a magical air about it. The most extraordinary phenomenon at Newgrange occurs on the winter solstice. The forces of nature, harnessed by the architects of the tomb, provide a supernatural effect that some say contains a sexual metaphor. Older than Stonehenge and the pyramids in Egypt, Newgrange has an eternal life. It became an important place to the Celtic peoples who lived in Ireland 3,000 years after its construction. The Celts inherited the impressive structure from their ancestors and told that the tomb was the home of the gods. Celtic religion was based on magic and superstition. Their priesthood was a powerful group of elders, the Druids. They may have conducted religious and civic ceremonies at sites such as Newgrange. Many ceremonies included blood sacrifice, which they believed was necessary to placate their gods. Their religious beliefs and codes of conduct were expressed through myth, ancient parables that were often set at sacred sites. Many myths are set here at Newgrange, linked to the belief that the gods lived there. These myths, though hundreds, even thousands of years old, are still intriguing to modern-day Celts. Richard Marsh tells the story of the sexual relationship between the sun god Dagda and the river goddess Boann. It's an ancient explanation of how the god of love was conceived at Newgrange.
When all the passage tombs were finished, their king, the Dagda Mór, the great good god, looked around for one for himself to occupy, and he found Newgrange. He thought he would like to live there. The problem was there were two people living there, Boann and her husband Alkmaar. Now, the Dagda thought he wouldn't mind sharing the accommodation with Boann, but what was he going to do about her husband Alkmaar? The Dagda sent Alkmaar on an errand that should have taken one day. But because he was the sun god and the sky god, he was able to make 9 months seem like one day. So when Alkmaar returned from his errand, thinking it was the evening of the day he had left, there was his wife Boann with a brand new baby boy, saying, "Isn't it marvelous, the child who was conceived in the morning and born the evening of the same day?" And poor old Alkmaar never knew any different. This, of course, was the son of the Dagda, Angus Og, young Angus, the god of love and the god of youth. First of all, the Dagda is the sky god, the sun god. He's represented by fire. Boann is a water goddess. She's the goddess of the river Boyne, which goes through the Boyne Valley just below the mound here. In Celtic tradition, the earth is feminine, the sun is masculine. And we have, at the winter solstice, the male sun coming into this female monument. If you think of a passage tomb as the belly of a pregnant woman, and the passage is the birth passage, and the chamber is the womb, you have the male sun god coming in to the womb and bringing fertility, the fertility of the sun, into the female earth.
This sexually charged myth has a clear connection with the unique event that happens here annually. On the winter solstice, the rising sun pierces through a narrow gap in the rock near the central doorway and lights up the whole chamber. It's an impressive feat of ancient engineering and astronomy. Archaeologists have interpreted this as symbolic of the sexual relationship between the sun and the earth. The sun penetrates the earth to bring life to the soil and provide its fruitfulness. This is clearly reflected in the myth of the god Dagda, who impregnates the goddess Boann. The stone carvings at Newgrange also may reflect this legend. The wave-like formation could represent the river goddess, and the spirals, the sun god. The association of Newgrange with sex and fertility is reflected in another myth, the story of Dermot and Grania, a tale of love and lust. It begins at Newgrange, the mythical seat of the Irish kings. The mythological King Cormac, who commanded the region around Newgrange, arranged for his daughter Grania to be married to Finn McCool, the heroic leader of the Fianna war band. Newgrange makes sense as the location for a mythological wedding, as the ancients may have used it for ceremonial and religious festivities, including the funerals and marriages of dignitaries.
Being a good father, Cormac said to Grania, "Would you like to marry Fionn McCool?" Grania said, Fionn McCool, the captain of the Fianna, the great hero? Of course, I'd love to marry him.
Finn McCool is still a popular hero in Scotland as well as Ireland. Legend tells of Finn as a giant who created a stepping stone from Ireland to Scotland. He scooped out a handful of earth, leaving a huge lake behind, Loch Ness, and flung the rock into the Irish Sea, creating the Isle of Man. Handsome, brave and just, according to the myth, Finn was a hero leader of the Fianna. The Fianna was a band of outlaw warriors who guarded the High King, in this case mythological, but there is a basis in truth. Ancient Celtic tribes would allow their young men to operate as a gang outside the law until it was time for them to settle down and raise a family.
The young men, who were in fact the sons of the farmers who lived round about, the better off farmers, would spend the first 5 or 10 years of their adult life, perhaps their late teens and early 20s, living at the court of a ruler, and then if they survived that period, they would eventually go home and take over the family farm.
The image of the romantic warrior represented by Finn and the Fianna warband often features in myth. They're always knightly, brave, almost invincible. These heroic depictions remain appealing to us still today. We're reminded of them in the landscape, in monuments and in the pages of storybooks, all romantic expressions of Celtic identity. The myth of Dermot and Grania is one such expression. Dermot is attending the wedding of his leader Finn and the young princess Grania. And at this point the sexual tension, found in many stories about the hot-blooded Celts, begins to weave its magic. Grania is having second thoughts, and her doubts are confirmed when she claps eyes on Dermot.
Grania saw Fionn McCool for the first time and began to think, I don't know, maybe a younger man would do me better. She saw Dermot for the first time. Dermot had a love spot. Anyone who saw this love spot that was on his forehead would fall instantly and completely in love with him. Grania saw the love spot and she fell in love with Dermot.
Diarmid behaves badly because his first loyalty is to his chief. He literally is supposed to die for his chief. And yet he does exactly the wrong thing. He's seduced by a determined woman who ruins his life by running off with him and breaks the bond between chief and man. And the moral is, if women start playing around with you, don't listen. Remember your political obligations first.
You get Grania, who seems to be this almost immoral woman who is married off to a king and just decides that she doesn't like him, he's too old, he's too ugly, and she much prefers someone else, and she just goes out and grabs him. And perhaps it's because I'm a woman myself, but I must admit I have a great deal of sympathy for Grania.
Dermot and Grania eloped, with the spurned warlord Finn and his warriors in pursuit. The lovers fled for a year and a day, sleeping in a different place each night. This part of the myth is firmly rooted in the Irish landscape and has become a popular explanation for these mysterious structures, each said to be a bed of Dermot and Grania.
Every night when they went to sleep, Dermot built a separate shelter. They spent each night in a different place. And locally, these will frequently be called the bed of Dermot and Grania. Because Fionn McCool and the Fianna chased Dermot and Grania for 366 days, a year and a day, there were at one time 366. Now there are about 175 or so.
One of these mythological beds of Dermot and Grania, the Prolic Dolmen, is in the grounds of a Gulfin hotel. Dolmens are portal tombs dating from 3,000 to 4,000 years BC. They are made of 3 or more upright stones supporting a delicately balanced capstone, in this case weighing 40 tons. A mound of earth was built around the supporting monoliths and the capstone hauled on top. Originally the whole tomb was encased in earth, which has since eroded.